Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel is Finding Value. Today we're going to look and do our commodity technical analysis update. We'll take a look at the dollar, 10, 30-year yield, precious metals, and all the different commodities, and I'll give you my financial opinion. We do have a midweek update for the Platinum members on the website. I'll get that up there and updated, let you know my opinions, and we'll dive right in here and let you know what I'm seeing. So this is the DXY. It's the relative strength indicator of the dollar. Basically sideways today. To me, this looks like we are trying to put in a bottom or support, I should say, in a very short term. That's why those wicks are down there. That's why I have it circled. Whenever there's wicks, that means that people bought this up and the momentum was coming back up. So we are getting a little bit of wicks in the bottom. It was a sideways day today. Again, we've fallen out of this pattern to the downside, and we may see a little bounce. We may not. Again, short-term wise, all I'm looking at is the candlesticks to see if they're basically breaking downtrends or uptrends. And right here, it gets kind of difficult to read because we've got lots of downside momentum. Not much upside movement here. This could bounce, do a little bounce and roll over, or it could just puke and roll over. So both of these end up going lower. So more or less which way the actual path is undetermined, but I think it will roll over and go lower over time. And it very well could even bounce all the way up and do something like that. The 10-year yield continues to sell off, down 2.84%. I think that people think that this inflation could be over with. That's what we're seeing with the selling pressure in the market. And for the short term, that very well could be the case in the short term. I have seen the M2 money supply be quite weak. Now, there's still imbalances in the oil markets. There's still imbalances in those areas. But in the short term, measured in weeks or months, yeah, you can come back. We've had a pretty large move to the upside, and we could have a consolidation period much like this. That's circled there, or another consolidation, or a larger consolidation period where we rip it lower, it comes back up, and then we go back down again and we consolidate for a while. That could be the case. But right now, yields are lower. So we've got a slightly lower dollar, lower 10-year yield. Bond prices are moving higher. We've broken that downtrend. If you want to play a short-term trend, you know, yields look really good here for the 20-year. The TLT looks good. TYX also heading lower. We've got that trend line break. We could obviously be heading to the downside here in the short term. We've had that lower inflation number through CPI, and the overall markets are running towards bonds at this time. TYX to TNX, the ratio is slightly lower. That's not really going to help. The yield curve is still inverted, but the whole curve is falling lower. And usually what we see is a move higher in this ratio, the 30-year divided by the 10-year. That's usually positive for precious metals. Today, you know, it's slightly lower. So we got kind of a mixed bag. The dollar it was down a little bit. Yields fell, but it's still kind of an inverted fall there. So commodities, we've got this pennant formation forming. Are we going to break to the upside and roll? We're sitting on top of this pattern here. This actually looks bullish to me. It looks really good for commodities and this CRB index. The way that this is forming, it looks incredibly bullish. CRB to S&P 500, it's just moving sideways. Not really a big update there. Maybe you could say that this is kind of a coming to a point where we could break higher, but tough to say there. Gold basically flat. We've got this long-term support level. It's on logarithmic that I drew this. We're at this long-term support level. We've broken above everything, but there's a lot of, we'll call it, when you break through resistance, it wants to come back and retouch the support levels, the same resistance support levels. So we might want to come back and touch this guy before heading higher. It's almost as if this thing is a magnet and it's attracting it back to it. That could be the case, but overall, it all depends on the market conditions here. What this is, at least the way that I'm looking at this and the way that I'm thinking, is gold is a measurement of a function of liquidity. And I think what gold thinks, or what gold knows, or whatever it is that liquidity is going to come back into the market, and or there's going to be loosening of monetary restrictions. So less quantitative tightening, less interest rate hikes, something on the lines of that. It's pricing something in. I don't know what that thing is yet. Silver also coming back and retesting the breakout. I think silver looks good here for a move higher. They usually come back, retest it. It's not a huge sell-off. Selling pressure days still looks good. Platinum is still marching lower with these little down days. And we very well could come and do a retest down here. It is a possibility. XAU to gold ratio down a little bit. So the gold and silver mining companies underperforming gold itself. We still have work on the ratio to break above that big downtrend line. Still has some work to do before I'll say I get ultra bullish on it. GDX heading a little bit lower. We've had some pretty good run the past week or so, and we're just heading a little bit lower. Again, it's not a large selling pressure day. We do have this bearish engulfing, which means we usually head and drift a little bit lower. Will we go all the way back and retest? I'm not exactly sure. We'll see what the trading patterns have in the near term. SILJ also heading a little bit lower. We could be drawing ourselves back to this support level, doing a retest before moving on higher. But that's what I see there. Crude oil down a little bit. I took off that trend line there. We've obviously drifting sideways with it. And we do have a little bit of wicks at the bottom. That's good. Buyers are coming in, buying it back up a little bit. It's not just a total selling pressure where the sellers womp the buyers. Buyers are saying, hey, Cam, I'll buy some here. Don't worry. Which direction is this thing going to go? I mean, I think that's what everybody's asking. On a longer term monthly view, we have broken this up, or I should say the uptrend line to the downside, and we're kind of just meandering sideways here. The inventories still look good for oil to go higher. And we're coming into winter, which is usually a little bit more demand. So which way is this thing going to go? And we could go sideways for a little bit in kind of an undecided fashion. We've got good drive out of this on the break up higher. We hit our head on some resistance, came on back, and we're just kind of moving sideways here. I'm not seeing an overpowering down selling pressure. I mean, a little bit of a bearish engulfing here, maybe this candlestick right there, but I'm not convinced that we're just going to blow to the downside. Not also convinced that we're just going to rip it to the upside either. It looked very good as we were coming with the bullish engulfing to rip higher and break through, but that did not happen. We're looping on back. So we might have to go sideways to slightly higher before we break through that resistance line. That resistance line is at $94. We've got good support underneath us at 85, basically where we're at, and down at 75. Natural gas being ultra volatile today. I saw it when it was way down. It actually ended up 3.25%. Is this thing going to rip it higher? It sure looks like it might. Again, guys, I've been kind of hesitant to say anything. We've got lots of changing market conditions out there, but I'm still bullish on natural gas. I'm still bullish on oil. I think those are my favorite plays of all the commodities. XOP, yeah, you know me, down 2.89%. We're still above all of this support, $145 support level, and we're still below the 175 resistance level. So we're just paused. We're pausing out a little bit, and everything still looks okay. There's no reversal candlesticks, really. We're kind of just chopping sideways. OIH, very similar. We've got nice, good bullish engulfings here, and we're just kind of chopping sideways here. And overall, big picture view, I think it looks fantastic. for a move higher in the long, medium long term. Short term, we're getting pretty bumpy. UX1, this is uranium futures pricing. We were sideways today is what I've got. I think this is a day delayed, but we're moving sideways in uranium futures pricing. We've got a massive selling pressure day in SPUT Physical Uranium Trust. It is breaking out through that trend level. Now what we want to see is are the buyers going to come in here and push this thing back upward? Are they going to come back upward, or is this thing going lower? Right now, I'm favoring lower because of how forceful this sell-off is and where it closed, which was very strong to the downside. Makes me think that there's more downside in the SPUT Physical Uranium Trust in the short term. We do have support, in this general vicinity here at about 1280, if it decides to go back down there. Uranium also getting some selling pressure today, down 4.85%. Looking at it, we hit our head on that strong resistance line that we were talking about. I say we, Uselink, and myself. And we're heading a little bit lower in the short term. And we've got support underneath us at $64 a share. Looking at TAN, TAN is still looking all right. Everything looks good for a move higher with respect to the way that this looks on a monthly candlestick basis. The weeklies also still look pretty good. Copper getting the bloody nose on a weekly basis. It's the small little down days here. It still looks good. I don't see huge selling pressure. It's just kind of hanging out right now. And it is above the support level at $30. Looking at Global X Lithium and Battery Tech ETF. I'm just kind of looking to see what kind of pattern this has. Not much buying pressure here recently. We've got a little bit more selling pressure here this past day, 2.5% down day. And we're kind of just bouncing back and forth in an ugly looking pattern here. I mean, it's basically maybe that. And we're just kind of hitting our head in a channel. It could be maybe a double bottom. It's hard to say, double, triple bottom. But we're just moving sideways, a little bit more selling pressure today. Rare earths also selling off 2.28%. We're still above that support level of $84.26. This is a double bottoming pattern. We've come on up, and now we're just kind of chugging sideways for the most part. The S&P 500, a little bit lower, 0.83%, slightly lower. If you look at this at a weekly candlestick, it's going to be a bloody nose. I still think it looks okay. The sellers haven't womped it yet, and I still think we could potentially go higher if it wants to. Looking at the NASDAQ, US Composite, another bloody nose on a weekly candlestick basis, just getting small down days all clustered together. So it still looks okay. We haven't gotten hit yet. And that's what it looks like in the short term there. EEM, heading down a little bit. Again, it likes doing these back tests before heading higher, so we might head a little bit lower in the short term for emerging markets. And that's where we've got there. XHB, the home builders, again, we've got on a weekly candlestick, this is going to be a bloody nose. It still looks good to move higher on the weeklies, and we're just pausing a little bit on the dailies, down a little bit. Moo's doing the same thing. I bet you it's going to be very similar. A little bloody nose. We're right above support, and that support hopefully will hold here. Looking at copper, copper getting a little bit more of a sell-off than I'd like to see. But you know what? We might be doing a retest here. That's what we're doing. $3.65 or so for a retest on copper futures. Broken down trend, retest, and then hopefully a move higher. Looking at random length, lumber. Lumber moving sideways, down 0.02%, basically sideways. Still looks okay for a move higher if the buyers want to come in here and push it on up above its trend line. We've got iron ore. Iron ore is sideways. Again, this doesn't look like a strong bounce. I do think that we could potentially still head lower in the short term, given the contraction in the opening and closing prices of these candlesticks. Big selling pressure and a weak bounce higher usually has another double bounce or something like that. Looking at aluminum, very volatile this week. We traded all over the place. A little bit lower today, down 0.97%. Can't really see it too well there, but we're above support and it's still holding. The Baltic Dry Index still in this falling wedge. We are down 1.89%. Still looks good for a move higher, given the candlesticks, the big up movement and the smaller down movement. Still favoring to the upside. Coal getting a little bit of buying pressure, 3.22% on the daily. Looks like it's trying to do something here. We'll see. It's no reversal candlestick yet. We'll have to see what happens. And then Ethereum down a little bit, down 3.75%. Still looks okay. There's not much selling pressure here, and it looks like it's holding its ground. Same with Bitcoin. It's holding its ground right where it's at. So it still looks fine. So overall, guys, lots of selling pressure there in uranium. Kind of surprising, in all honesty. We had a big selling pressure in the SPUT Physical Uranium Trust. I don't know if there's something going on there. I didn't look. Just looking at the charts there. Broke through our uptrend line, and there might be further downside there. Uranium is still in a way better position. We're still above all the support. So that's good. So SPUT Physical Uranium Trust is the one that looks the weakest of the group, with that large selling pressure day to day, breaking through its uptrend line. Oil and natural gas. Natural gas still looks really good. Oil is kind of just moving sideways in an undecided fashion. Precious metals still look strong. I think they look good. And a lot of the other areas still look good, sitting on top of breakouts of certain patterns. Commodities, the CRB index is also one that's broken out and is doing a pennant formation for a potential break higher. So that's what I've got for today, guys. If you guys like the content, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the website, Platinum membership if you'd like. And we'll catch you later. This is Finding Value.